Hey y'all, welcome back to Review That with Des. And in this episode, we're going to be reviewing season 5, episode 8, Sweet Thing. So this episode comes on with all the guys getting their girls' cars, and everybody has on pink, y'all. They actually look really, really nice. Everybody looks good with their pink or red on. However, Emmett is trying to find Keisha a card, and this guy comes. And so it's the last card, last envelope. Emmett hurries up and grabs the card, and the guy hurries up and grabs the envelope, balls it up, and throws it at Emmett. So Emmett is so pissed off about that. He like, come on, man. So yeah, then you see Trig takes his time looking for a card for Fatima, but then when it comes to Tiara, he just picks the card up. He doesn't even read it. He just picks it up and just like whatever. And then we have Darnell. Darnell didn't even know it was goddamn Valentine's Day. This man was in the store getting Old Spice. We had Kev. He was getting his girl a card. We had Jake. He was looking down, so sad. You know, he was trying to find Gemma something for Valentine's Day. And then we had Rob. He was getting Tiff a card that she does not deserve. So Trig we'll get there. Her card. She reads it and she says, "Thank you." She says, he says he's sorry about what happened, the other night. So she said he doesn't have to apologize. They both walked into the relationship. Well, not even relationship, situation with their eyes wide open. Trig said, yeah, but he didn't know that it would hurt him that bad to know that she was with someone else. He said, I like you. She said, I like you too. He said he wants to build with her. She cuts him off and was like, but you can't, right? So basically, he was like, not right now. So she was like, she knew better to sit around and wait for Trig because of, the Tiara situation. She don't have time to be played with. That's basically what she's saying. So he's like, don't do him like that. So he's like, he needs time. So she's like, how much time do you need? And he's like, just give him time, trust him, or whatever the case may be. So anyway, he's like, he has something to do. Basically, we know he has to go to dinner with Tiara. So Tiffany is sitting at the table with EJ at Emmett's house. So she asks Emmett, was he moving? So Emmett says no, Keisha got cramped up at her dorm room. So they talk, and Keisha is now moving in with him. So Tiffany says, so when was you going to tell me? He was like, you didn't tell me that, you moved in with Rob when you did. So she was like, oh, so you're doing this to hurt me. He was like, this is not about you. Everything is not always about you. So she said, what is it about, Emmett? He said, it's not about nothing. She just got cramped up at the dorm room and she need more help with Ronnie. Like, it's just that simple. So basically, she's asking him, like, what is he doing for Valentine's Day? So he was like, he'll have Ronnie and he'll have the other two kids. So he's not able to watch EJ. So she kind of catches an attitude like, no, I got him. He goes to my mother's house. Honey, he's always at your mother's house. Why can't you keep your own child? Because Rob is not going to be there. And so you should be able to watch your own son. You ain't doing shit anyway. I just don't understand her. So Lene and Kev, they walk into the kitchen. So she asks, what did you get your girlfriend for Valentine's Day? So he said he had named a star after Simone. And so she was like, what type of gifts is that? He was like, she'll like it. She's into the galaxy. She's different. So Lene is like, she doesn't think that she's going to like it because, she's not into that type of stuff. She's like, all girls like flashy stuff. But Kev knows his girl, and he's like, no, she's not like that. You're like that, but she's not. So he does ask Lene, do she have a dude? And so she says no, and he said, well, I'll always be here for you. So Gemma says she had a dream about Jake, her, and the baby. So Jake asks, what were they doing? So Gemma said bonding. So he was like, how did it feel? She said normal. So then he asks, was she relieved that the baby was no longer in her stomach? So she's like, why would you ask that? So he was like, because you didn't want the baby in the first place. And she's like, okay, but I changed my mind. But I feel like her snapping on him is unnecessary because even though he didn't go through the situation physically, he's going through it mentally. You can look at him and tell. So I feel like just because you're the mom in the situation and you went through it physically does not mean that his feelings are not valid. And I feel like she needs to understand that. So Trig asks Shaw, what is he doing for Valentine's Day for Deja? So Shaw talking about he was going to take her to Smokies. Like, are you serious? But anyway, Trig says, you can't be taking her to Smokies. But Tiara busts in and she's like, why don't you just come with us? So Trig is like, who is going to front the bill? So she's like, do them. So he's like, okay, come on, let's go. Let's run up the set. Shit, I don't care. So Shaw is excited about that. And he's like, well, now I can go get her a better gift because, Duda is going to pay for the dinner. Then he can go ahead and get her something better than what he did earlier that day. Y'all, I felt the need to smack the shit out of this girl for Rob. Like, she irritated me this whole episode. But anyway, Rob is cooking and Tiffany tells him to turn down the fire before he burns the sauce. So the smoke detector starts going off. So she jumps up, kind of pushes him and says, move. So he's looking at her like, bitch, she said, what the fuck is wrong with you? You been acting like this all day. So he said, look, if Emmett did something to you, then be mad at him. Don't take it out on me. And I mean, it's fair. Emmett didn't even do nothing to her, though. She just was being a bitch the whole episode. You're being a bitch because you can't control a situation that you want to control when you want to control it. It don't work like that. And it just irritated me this whole episode to see her just so miserable. Like, it was so bad. So Nina and Dre, they're preparing to go on a dinner date for Valentine's Day. Nina tells Dre her feet hurt. So Dre is like, look, I told you not to wear them heels out the house. So Nina is like, look, I'm tired. I guess she didn't feel like going, out. So Dre tells her, we can go in the house, watch a movie, and order some food or whatever. So she's happy about that. And sometimes being home is way better than going out. I love being home. However, where the hell have these two been? I would rather see Nina and Dre versus Jada and Darnell any day. So Tiara is watching Shaw and Deja kiss. And so she's like, well, look who's in the holiday spirit. So Deja is like, we do this every day. This ain't just one day thing. So she tells Victor, that is so sweet, isn't it? He's studying his phone texting. Shaw says, hey, man, put down that phone. You got a beautiful woman sitting next to you. You need to be paying attention to her, basically. So he's like, he has to handle business. So Deja busts in, but she's really looking at Shaw like she want to smack the shit out of him. So she asks Tiara, how long y'all been together? So Tiara says, I think a couple months. No, Trig says a couple months, and Tiara says a year. Shaw is like, oh, y'all need to get y'all story together. So Deja does not know what's going on. So he's like, she's looking at Shaw like, what story? So he's like, no, Victor is bad with keeping up with stuff like that. So Rob asks what is going on with her. So she says she does not appreciate him having to leave on Valentine's Day. So he's like, this is the only day that works for the vendor. So she says, well, Emmett did something very nice for Keisha. So Rob is like, what the fuck does that have to do with me? I do stuff for you every single day. You live in this man's house. This man that got you gifts. This man does stuff for you every single day, and you are still ungrateful. So you're going to be left alone. You ain't going to have Emmett or Rob. Keep on. Keep the fuck on. So Keisha is in her hotel room, and so she's relaxing, and she's watching Waiting to Exhale. I feel like that movie made her think about Tiff. So she does pick up her phone and she asks, hey, can we talk? So Tiffany got that message at a perfect time because Rob was on his way out the door. And, she didn't have anything to do, so why not? But she does text Keisha back and say, no, I'm enjoying my Valentine's Day. But she does erase that because she knows she was a damn lie. And she says, yes, where? So when she gets to the hotel room, they're just sitting there looking at each other. And Keisha is like, this is weird. So she says she doesn't really know what to say to Tiff. So Tiff starts asking questions like, how long you and Emmett been messing around? So Keisha says, not long. Tiffany says, what does that mean? Keisha said, I don't have the exact date or whatever. So Tiffany starts asking Keisha, if I start messing with Nuck, how would you feel? So Keisha said, if that was the love of your life, I would just have to deal with it. So Tiffany tells her she's lying. Tiff says, how do you know that he won't do you how he did me. Keisha says she just has to trust herself. Tiff asks, does she trust him? Keisha says yes. Tiffany says don't. So she said people don't change. Tiff said, Keisha says, it will take time before things feel normal again. And so Tiff says, she doesn't want it to feel normal again. She's done with this whole situation. She's done with Keisha. And that's just that. She gets up and she walks out. So Shard walks in and he sees Tiara sitting at the table. And she looked really nice. She looked really pretty. So he says, damn girl, you look good enough to eat, while getting whipped cream out of the refrigerator. So Trick says, yeah, you look nice. Real dry. Still texting. So he's asking, Rashad asks Tiara, where is she going? And so Trig tells Rashad, stay out of her business. And so he's like, tend to your own Valentine. So he goes downstairs. He said that's what he's about to do. So Tiara cuts in and says, he was just being nice. So Trig said he was just being a little too nice. So as he goes downstairs, he's like, baby, I have the Cool Whip. Deja is packing her shit. So he's like, where are you going? So she's like, repeating what he said. Damn, baby, you look good enough to eat. You don't tell another woman that on Valentine's Day. So Rashad's talking about he don't know the rules. And so Deja asks, do you have a crush on her? He says, I've been in the pen for 10 years. I have a crush on everybody. So if that's the case, why would you get into a relationship with her? You asked her for a chance, she gave you one, and now look. But anyway, she was telling him that basically Tiara wouldn't be looking at him if it wasn't for her because, she didn't bought him the suits and all that stuff. However, I said in my last video, he probably did not want to accept anything because he did not want that shit, to blow up in his face. Somebody to be throwing that shit in his face, and look what happened. So Rashad was like, you ain't do me no fucking favors. So she leaves, and he's like trying to call her back downstairs, and she ain't coming. She left. So Tiff is at Emmett's door. He said, Tiff, what are you doing here? So she said she wanted to see him. He said, about what? She said, about us. He said you was done. She tells him to come sit next to her on the couch. So he's like, no, I'm good standing up. She said, please. He sits down. He says, what's up? So she says, look, I know you still love me. He said, of course, you're the mother of my child. So basically, he loves her, but he's not in love with her anymore. So she's basically like, I don't believe you. And so she tries to grab him, and he pulls away and says, look, I said I'm in a relationship. So she pulls down her zipper, and she has red lingerie underneath of it. So she's like, this never stopped you before. And he said, look, I said I'm a changed man. So now she gets up, zipping her stuff up, looking crazy. And she's like, you can be loyal to Keisha, but you couldn't be loyal to me. You didn't give him a chance. I feel like he said he was changed, and you should have just gave him that time to see if he had changed, but you didn't. You wanted an open relationship, and now that you see that he's treating someone else good, you're feeling some type of way, and she's really having a hard time with this. But I cannot believe she left out the house with them damn red boots on and that lingerie underneath. I couldn't. So Tiff walks in the house, and Rob is home with dinner, wine, and candles lit. She said, what are you doing here? He said he changed his flight so he could spend Valentine's Day with her. So he kisses her, and he asks, where are you coming from? So she says she's coming from over Keisha's. And he said, I'm glad y'all talked. He said it's time for y'all to heal from that situation. So she's like, yeah. So he's like, what's wrong? And so she's like, I'm just glad that you're home. So he tells her, sit down and let's eat. However, I thought he was going to be like looking at her up and down, and he was going to unzipping that damn thing and see that she had on lingerie. I was just waiting. I just thought he was going to do that. Trig looks so nice with his pink on, but Trig is at Fatima's house eating dinner. And he tells her, he's sorry that it has to be like this. And Fatima said it doesn't. So he said he promises that it won't be like that forever. So she was like, it better not. So Trig started laughing, but she's serious. Like, she's not going to remain a secret. And I really, really think that they're going to work out At first, I thought that she was going to be the person that, outed him, but now I don't think that's the case. So Rashad is laying down and he hears someone coming down the steps. So he grabs his bat. And so the lights cut on and it's Tierra. So he's like, I thought you were someone trying to break in. So originally, I thought Trig was upstairs having dinner with Fatima. But Trig is at Fatima's house having dinner. So this all made sense. So Rashad asks Tierra, I thought you were going out. So she said, no, Roslyn had to get a rain check. So she asked where was Deja, and he was like, she left. So anyway, she comes down and she kisses him. And so he stops her in the middle of them kissing and says, oh, I'm in a situation. So she said, I am too. So, they do what they do. So Gemma wakes up and Marcus is sitting on her bedside. So he's like, good morning. So she says, good morning. He said he hates that she has to go through this. She said, me too. He says, but everything happens for a reason. So Gemma says, what is the reason for this? He said, I don't know, but God has a plan. So she's like, look, you always say this when you don't have nothing else to say. So he does let her know it's okay to be scared, because she was saying how she was scared what people would say, what Marcus would think, how good of a mom she would have been, or if Jake was going to be mad at her. So he's like, you're going to be scared plenty of other times in life, but you'll never be alone. And I'm glad he gave her that advice, because it's a lot of ups and downs in, kids' lives, and he is trying. Even though he does allow her to run over top of him, and I'll get to that, but he's trying, and that's all that matters. There's no manual book that says this is how to be a parent. We just try, and he's doing a great job, I believe. So as they're talking, Jake comes and he knocks on the door. So Marcus gets up and he said he'll lead them to the talk. So Jake comes in and he brings her like a sandwich and an orange juice. And I just want to say I am so happy to see how supportive he is in this situation. Like, you could see his growth. But anyway, he does tell her, he asks her how does she feel first. And she says she feels okay. And he does tell her, it was good to see you smile again. So she says, I won't ever be the same after this. So he said he won't either. So Lene and Papa are sitting on the couch. And so Papa gives her Bakari's card. So she's like, who is it from? He said he can't tell her. So she's like, stop playing with me. Who is it from? He says, a secret admirer. Just open it. She opens it and she reads it and she likes the handwriting. So she says the handwriting is nice. So Papa starts blushing because Papa wrote it. So she was like, did you write this, Papa? So he's like, I wrote it, but it's not from me. So as they're going back and forth with that, Bakari walks in the door. And so, she's like smiling. This is my first time ever seeing both of them really smile the way they are smiling. So anyway, Bakari asks her, can they kick it sometimes? And she's like, I know what you did. So Papa cuts him off as they're talking and is like, come on. So he's like, where are we going? He said, you said you would go apologize to Gemma and Jake. So she's like, yeah, well, if you do that, then yeah, we could kick it. So he's like, oh, for real? So he's excited. So he's going to go apologize. So Emmett knocks on the door. Darnell comes to the door. So Emmett tells him, you have my blessing. So Darnell said, what changed your mind so fast? So he lets him know, Tiffany tried to fuck me last night. So he was like, what? So Darnell comes out the door and shuts the door behind him. So he's like, and if I could change, you could change. So Darnell says, he's excited because now, he has Emmett's blessing and he could go ahead and propose to Jada. So Darnell tells Emmett he needs to tell Keisha, basically. And so he's like, no, I don't. He said, well, that's the only way she's going to see how much of a changed man you are, basically. So I really agree with Darnell because Stephanie was out of line. But I don't feel like that they should be holding secrets so early in their relationship. If you're going to be a changed man, be a changed man all the way. And I feel like he's doing great so far. So Jada walks in and it's music playing, it's balloons, and she's like, what's going on? So Darnell steps out with the ring and he was like, he apologized for what happened on prom night because the two friends that they sat down with at dinner they were bringing up a lot of negative things. So he wanted to apologize about messing up her evening. And he was like, he's going to make it up with this. And he got down on his knee. And so she's like, are you serious? He's like, yes. And so she's just still in awe. So he was like, what is the answer, woman? So she does say yes. And they're just so happy. She's kissing him and she's excited about it. And he does tell her, I got Emmett's blessing first. So Jada walks in and it's music playing, it's balloons, and she's like, what's going on? So Darnell steps out with the ring and he was like, he apologized for what happened on prom night because the two friends that they sat down with at dinner, they were bringing up a lot of negative things. So he wanted to apologize about messing up her evening. And he was like, he's going to make it up with this. And he got down on his knee. And so she's like, are you serious? He's like, yes. And so she's just still in awe. So he was like, what is the answer, woman? So she does say yes. And they're just so happy. She's kissing him and she's excited about it. And he does tell her, I got Emmett's blessing first.